There is an instant nearly invisible when you cross into a space and everything tilts, not the room itself but the world within. The atmosphere grows dense. The murmur of motion, the scattered talk, the restless scuff of shoes, it all recedes into a lower register. Reality seems to draw a quiet breath. Eyes lift and settle, not with curiosity but with a kind of deep acknowledgement. They detect in you something that breaks the ordinary tempo, something exact and inevitable. It is the gravity of your presence, the undeniable cohesion of your being, the alignment of thought, feeling, and action legible even to those who have never given it a conscious name. They don't understand it yet, but they feel it. A stillness ascends where motion once ruled. A quiet authority emits without strain. Time doesn't stop, yet perception warps. Moments lengthen and splinter, leaving behind a sharp awareness of structure where there had been only drift. This sensation disturbs because it presents a truth that cannot be sidestepped. In your orbit, the disordered impulses, the habitual worries, the subtle constant negotiations that fill the empty spaces of life become visible. People feel seen, recognized, and known in ways that border on discomfort. There's an uncanny lucidity to someone whose mind and body are fully integrated, whose actions are extensions of their principles. It's a coherence that resonates beneath reason, felt more than witnessed, a gravitational pull that arrests attention without a sound. You become the axis around which the surrounding chaos tilts and trembles. In that tremor, others sense the fragility of their own constructions. The effect is both immediate and cumulative. The first pause is slight, a hitch in speech, a blink held a beat too long, a step that falters mid-stride. Then the full impact settles. People still not from fear or awe, but from the recognition of an unspoken order they have not yet learned to embody. They feel the rift between your clarity and their confusion. Their usual ways of moving through the world, the internal chatter, the restless seeking for validation or control, suddenly seem absurd beside the solidity you carry. There is a weight in your alignment that cannot be countered with noise or debate. It does not shout. It does not demand. It simply is. And because it simply is, the room responds. The usual currents of influence, manipulation, and distraction stall. The momentum of habit hesitates. It's as though reality pauses to take your measure, to register someone who has become an immovable point within its flow. People sense it physically, a slight tightness in the chest, the mind groping for footing. Subconscious calculations, attempts to predict or sway you fall short. They meet an internal standard they did not set but cannot disregard. Every gesture you make, each subtle shift in posture communicates a certainty that is unnervingly complete. And they reply not with words but with silence, with watchful care, with a fragile stillness. It isn't theatrical, it isn't intended. It is simply the resonance of someone whose inner architecture is sound. You are present in a way that cannot be trivialized, and in that presence you halt more than time. You halt the noise, the distraction, the shallow performances that govern ordinary exchange. You become unavoidable, a fixed point of psychological gravity. In this moment, the room becomes a mirror. Everyone in it must reckon with what is reflected back, their own impulses, indecision, fractured attention, habitual avoidance. They grow quiet because they cannot help it. Stunned because they recognize an order that is both foreign and necessary. You need not announce yourself. Your integrity, your focus, your cohesion make you known before you speak. There hangs a profound tension in this pause, a stillness humming with anticipation and quiet revelation. And in that hum, people sense something irreversible, that here now someone has emerged whose inner coherence is absolute, whose psychological gravity is undeniable, whose alignment cannot be resisted. The mirage of stopped time, what unfolds, is not magic, nor is it supernatural. Yet to those nearby, it feels as though time itself has slowed, as though the ordinary stream of events bends to accommodate an unfamiliar harmony. What they truly perceive is coherence made flesh, a psychological presence so whole it interrupts their habitual ways of seeing. Eyes linger because they are unconsciously measuring this integrity against the scattered patterns of their own existence. The stillness isn't imposed. It arises naturally from the integration of thought, body, and emotion. That integration seems to arrest the world. When a person has reconciled their fragmented parts, the result is a stability that is palpable. Others, conditioned to distraction and constant motion, detect this stability as extraordinary. They sense the alignment of attention and intention, the congruence between principle and action, the calm certainty that requires no validation. Against this backdrop, the usual rush of life, the nervous fidgeting, the self-conscious performance, the volley of trivial worries, feels jarring and thin. The stopping of time is not an interruption of clocks, but the sensation of clarity piercing the fog of ungrounded thought. It's a subtle signal, yet it carries immense weight. Those who encounter it experience a brief, involuntary hesitation. Sentences trail off. Movements suspend. Gestures lose their automatic flow. The coherent individual acts as a living mirror, reflecting the dissonance, the inconsistency, the fragmented impulses of others. This reflection unsettles because it is precise and inescapable, not a judgment spoken, but a measure taken against a standard that exists apart from approval or recognition. Time does not stop because someone wills it. It appears to stop because our perception is anchored by something whole. The disruption of unspoken chaos, the world moves to a rhythm of noise and disorder, a rhythm rarely acknowledged. People carry their anxieties, unfinished business, scattered impulses, and project this turbulence outward. Conversations leap without tether. Gestures lack intention. Decisions are made in haste or deferred entirely. There is motion but no direction, energy without form. Then someone enters whose inner architecture is complete. The entire system wavers. The chaos that defines ordinary experience cannot persist in the presence of unshakable order. It becomes visible in its absurdity, painfully so, because it is confronted with something that embodies stability in every nuance. This disruption isn't deliberate. It is the natural outcome of coherence. When someone is fully integrated, their attention is precise, their intention clear, their presence undivided. They move not as a participant in chaos, but as a reference point for order. The result is immediate. The usual currents of manipulation and superficial engagement falter. Impulses hesitate. Words lose urgency. Those accustomed to disorder feel the shift in their nervous systems. Trained for stimulation, they detect a gravity that is foreign and irresistible. People experience this as a pause, but the effect runs deeper. It is a confrontation with what they have neglected in themselves. They sense, often wordlessly, a standard of integrity, clarity, and self-possession they do not meet. Their own inconsistencies become sharply visible in contrast. This visibility is uncomfortable because it is undeniable, not judgmental, merely reflective. Chaos does not stop because it is commanded to. It stops because it is exposed. In the presence of alignment, disorder has no place to hide. The silence that is more than quiet there is a silence that is not an absence of sound. It is a presence in itself, a force that emerges when someone fully aligned occupies a space. It isn't staged. It arises, the product of a mind and body operating in absolute synchrony. Others feel it instantly, an unspoken recognition that something vital has entered the atmosphere. It is a silence heavy with awareness, a quiet that carries more weight than any argument. This silence disorients because it breaks habitual expectation. People anticipate conversation, reaction, negotiation, and instead meet a presence that does not conform. Authority is evident in posture, in gaze, in the deliberate rhythm of motion. This stillness resonates beneath cognition. It is felt before it is understood. The quiet is a mirror revealing inconsistencies and unexamined impulses. In that moment, the observer cannot proceed as usual. Words fail. Gestures freeze. Expressions tighten as if the body itself understands that habitual performance is insufficient. It isn't fear, though apprehension may stir, but recognition of a standard previously unacknowledged, one that does not bend to persuasion or charm. This silence transforms the social field. Those who speak from habit feel their words grow weightless. Attempts at influence crumble against unshakable presence. Without overt action, the integrated individual imposes a structure others unconsciously obey, adjusting their movements and attention to a new rhythm. The silence is instructive, a living demonstration of alignment. The stunned response is rooted in psychological exposure. People recognize, often unconsciously, that they are being measured against a standard they do not inhabit. The mind scrambles to justify or redirect, yet the silence remains impenetrable. It does not react. It simply is a field of coherence, absolute and unassailable. Presence as unspoken authority, true presence is not a display. It is a consequence, the natural outcome of inner alignment, discipline, and unwavering cohesion. When someone inhabits themselves fully, their presence carries a weight that cannot be fabricated. It is an authority that needs no announcement, recognized instinctively by every psyche in range. This authority moves without aggression, yet it commands attention, adjusts the flow of interaction, and interrupts patterns of distraction. Presence, grounded in integrity, is itself a structure, a gravitational field around which chaos bends. Those who encounter it pause mid-gesture, search for footing, reconsider their words. Deep within, they recognize, here is someone who does not operate by the superficial rules of noise or pretense. Authority derived from presence is paradoxical. It does not assert through domination. It does not require agreement or applause. It exists because the individual embodies a coherence others recognize even before they comprehend it. To meet such presence is to face an inevitability. the inevitability of order where disorder once ruled. This authority reshapes perception. Chaotic or superficial behaviors become irrelevant in its light. Attempts at distraction falter naturally as the energy behind them dissipates. The influence is subtle but total, recalibrating attention, quieting restless impulses, steering interaction toward clarity. It is inherently destabilizing to those unaccustomed to it. People used to reactive engagement or habitual chaos are confronted with a standard they cannot easily match. Their strategies of influence falter. The environment adjusts to accommodate a force that cannot be ignored. The effect accumulates. Repeated exposure brings a growing awareness of the gaps in one's own alignment. The integrated individual does not demand this recognition. It is the natural byproduct of existing in coherence. The inevitable the weight of presence is not measured by applause or approval. It is not flamboyant. It does not seek validation. In the spaces you occupy, energy shifts not because you demand it, but because your coherence creates a field that cannot be disregarded. People pause, impulses hesitate, noise falls away. This is not spectacle, it is consequence. Others recognize it before they understand it. They feel it before they can name it. They respond instinctively, even in resistance. Presence carries authority because it exposes inconsistency and enforces alignment without a word. Those moving through distraction and performance sense immediately the standard against which they are measured, a quiet calibration that leaves them unsettled, reflective, sometimes stunned. In this stillness, the integrated individual need not act. Their coherence radiates as a constant, immovable point. The environment answers, patterns bend, social currents slow. The chaotic momentum of ordinary life falters before someone fully inhabiting themselves. The psychological effect is profound, a mix of awe, tension, and recognition. People are held against a standard independent of them, a standard that cannot be negotiated, manipulated, or evaded. The pause, the quiet, the subtle gravity. These are mirrors showing the disparity between impulse and principle. For those who have not yet cultivated such coherence, this presence is both unsettling and illuminating. They are confronted with the possibility of a different way of being, a contrast impossible to ignore. The authority of presence is inevitable. It does not seek dominance, yet it dominates by existing in a clarity the surrounding world cannot resist. It is an energy that recalibrates systems, external and internal. Observers are compelled to adjust their attention, refine their impulses, reconsider their patterns. It compels not through fear or manipulation, but through exemplification, by demonstrating the potency of alignment and the irresistible weight of cohesion. To inhabit oneself fully is to carry an invisible gravity. It is to be recognized, noticed, and felt in ways that require no commands or spectacle. The energy is constant, unyielding, undeniable. It reshapes perception, transforms environments, and slows the chaotic flow of ordinary life simply by existing as it does. And in that recognition, in that quiet confrontation with what is true, there is a weight that lingers. It is neither fleeting nor performed. It is a force that persists, grounded in integrity, discipline, and the unshakable clarity of being. Those who encounter it are altered. They cannot unsee the coherence, the alignment, the quiet authority radiating from one who inhabits themselves completely.